This is Susan Wheelbanks with blendedinsight.com. I am an energy healer, an intuitive, and an integrative/holistic wellness practitioner. In this podcast, I share tips, tools, and strategies that have helped me along my journey, and hopefully some of these things can help you along yours. Let's get started. Hello, bright souls. Thank you so much for joining me. Before I get into today's podcast topic, I want to send my sincerest gratitude for all of those who took the time to send me a testimonial. It means so much to me, and I know for many of us, if we are empathic, electronics and technology is not our thing, and so sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge, and I appreciate you working through that and communicating with me and sending me that. You have no idea how much those things brighten my day. I mean, honestly, it just provides a validation that the work that I am doing is appreciated and needed, so thank you. The second thing I wanted to say is if you are not on my mailing list, please go over and join that on my website, blendedinsight.com. It's right on the homepage. If you're using your mobile phone, you'll see it. It'll say subscribe to my newsletter. I want to let you know that I do not use my newsletter or my mailing list to spam. I have so much respect and honor for you putting in your email address and connecting with me in that way. As an empathic person, nothing is more agitating to me than getting an inbox full of spam and someone trying to send me things and sending excessive emails. I just can't tolerate it. And if you are connected to me, chances are you can't tolerate it either. So I'm not going to do that to you. I use my mailing list as a way to communicate offers and things that I feel that will support you. And I also send a lot of healing to my mailing list because I have your names in this list that I can actually blast with healing energy at the end of my meditations. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity to do that. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, YouTube/Blended Insight. I will put the link in the show notes. So for today's podcast, I want to talk about something that I have struggled with so much, and chances are you have too. And that is saying no nicely. The reason that we struggle with this is as empathic and possibly people who are recovering codependents, we really want people to like us. And we have an issue with feeling the other person's disappointment or anger because we're empathic, so we feel that too, and we really want to avoid it. I'll tell you, for me, growing up as an adult child of an alcoholic, my feelings were always invalidated. So I really got the message that I wasn't valued and I didn't matter because I was being raised by an alcoholic who put themselves first, because when you're an addict, that's what you do. So I grew up feeling very abandoned. And then on top of that, I was empathic and I thought differently than everyone else in my family. And when you grow up wanting to fit into a structure that you don't fit in, you begin to compromise your own self-worth to try to bend into a mold that you don't fit into. And so I grew up my whole life doing that. And I ended up attracting extremely destructive relationships and relationships that didn't honor me because I didn't honor myself. And this has just been a pattern that I'm so sick of. I don't want to do this to myself anymore. And so chances are, if you're drawn to this, the same is true for you. Let's talk about the reasons that we don't share how we really feel. So I had this problem my entire life because I didn't want people to look at me like I was different. So I would say yes to things that I didn't want to do out of fear of not being liked, out of fear of being invalidated, out of fear of being isolated, out of fear of them reacting in a way that made me uncomfortable. And so I would go along with things. And what happens to us is that we get really resentful. And honestly, at the end of the day, is it their fault or is it our fault? Well, it's our fault because we didn't tell them how we felt. When we don't stick up for ourselves, we become a doormat. And honestly, it's our own fault because we're sending out that message that we don't have boundaries and that we're not going to stick up for ourselves. Now, there have been times in my life where I have actually said no and the person didn't receive it. That's a different thing altogether, and I'm not going to get into that during this podcast because for this podcast, I want to give you tools to help support you in saying no when you really don't want to do something or when you have other things planned and you don't want to have to exhaust yourself trying to accommodate someone that can honestly find someone else to do it or do it themselves. If you are in the alternative healing arts, if you do healing work, or you are a counselor, a lot of times people will try to guilt you into helping them because that's your profession. And what I learned really when I started doing energy healing and readings is that I have to set boundaries on how much I give, because if not, I will have nothing inside me to give. In the beginning, people would just send others to me. Like, I'd just be regular, like work, and someone would come to me, oh, such and such said you did this, and then just start pouring all of their problems on me and expecting me to drop everything I'm doing and help them. And it wasn't appropriate because we weren't in a session together. I'm in the middle of something else. I'm not in that space. And it's this unrealistic expectation that because you do a healing art, you are expected to be doing that 24/7. And I am not Jesus, okay? But because you're passionate about what you're doing, like in my case, I'm passionate about this work because I know that it helps people and I know that it works and I love to do it. So there would be almost this sense of obligation that I had to just help whenever. And then I noticed myself getting really burnt out. It's because, it was more family and friends than anyone else. I get all of a sudden, these friends want to be my best friends, but all they're trying to do is send me pictures and wanting me to read the person's energy and give it back to them. They're wanting to call me and eat all my time with wanting my perspective on something, but they don't really want my perspective. They want me to drop into my gift and give it from that place. And I'm intuitive, so I can see that. I had to start using these tools that I'm going to share with you right now. When you first learn to say no, it is uncomfortable because you're used to saying yes when you really don't want to. And so to alleviate the discomfort and the guilt that may go along with that, you always start with a positive phrase. So, for example, if someone says, hey, can you drop everything you're doing right now and go to lunch with us? You would start with a positive phrase such as, thank you so much for thinking of me and inviting me. I'm not sure. Let me check my schedule and I'll get back with you in a few minutes. Where are you going to be? That way you create some space between the decision. And ideally, if you can wait 24 hours before answering, it will really help to diffuse the situation and it'll be easier for you to go back and tell the person no. Now, if the person is putting urgency on it, like I used to have this person in my life that would call me and she was always worried and always anxious, and she would call with all these problems from people that didn't even live in my state, like extended family, and she would just go in on it. And I would be in the middle of something and she'd say, oh, can you drop everything and do a reading? And I would just say, you know what? I'm really sorry you have all that going on. I know it must be really hard for you, but I'm right in the middle of something. Can I give you a call back? Then I would just wait. And then I may text her back or call her back in maybe an hour or so and say, I'm really not in the space for that right now. I'm in the middle of doing this. And so maybe we could set up a time next week. And do you know, she would never, ever take me up on that offer because she didn't want to pay for a session. And she really didn't want anything other than to eat my energy, whether she realized it or not. Because sometimes it's unconscious. You're the person that's meditating and trying your best to evolve and serve others. And so those that aren't doing any of that work, sometimes you're the first person they think of and they want to leech off of your energy. But when you begin to set boundaries to let them know that it's not okay. I also have balance in my life and other things going on. I can't just let you deplete me in that way, and especially not for just petty stuff that can definitely wait. And most of it she was creating mentally anyway because she was just a worrier. And so when I began to set these boundaries and just say, no, I'm really sorry. And when she would call, I also learned another tip to just say, what are you going to do about it? And that way they're not expecting you to jump in and solve it for them, and you put it back on them, and it helps you to not get sucked in, and it helps you to say no and to protect your own energy. So let me just do a little quick recap. So the very first thing you do, you just always start out with a positive statement. So someone says, I really need your help with this project. It's at work and you're drowning yourself at work. You just say, I would really like to help you. Let me check my calendar and then I'll get back with you. Where are you going to be? And then that creates some space, and maybe that gives them time to figure out their own solution and figure it out, and you'll feel better. And then you can go back to them and just let them know, I'm really sorry, I'm not going to be able to do it. And you just hold your position, because if they're a manipulator and a narcissist, or they're used to you always saying yes, they'll give you all the reasons why your answer for the no won't work, but you just hold firm and say, oh no, I'm really sorry, I'm not going to be able to do it. And I've got to get back to what I'm doing now. So I'll give you a call later, okay? Or I'll come by and check on you later, something like that. And that way you feel like you're still a nice person, because you are. And you have protected your own boundaries and your own energy. Again, it's best to wait 24 hours, because what I find is in 24 hours, they've already figured it out, or they've moved on to something else. What you don't want to happen is you don't say no and you continue this pattern, and then you build up resentment inside of you, and then you just snap. Because I've been there too, where I just have someone that's taking and taking and taking, and then I'm so depleted and I'm exhausted that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. Then I have a reaction that wasn't ideal for that person or for me. And at the end of the day, I'm a grown up. It's my responsibility to set healthy boundaries, stand up for myself, and manage my own time and energy. So for energetic things that you can do, first of all, shield yourself. Imagine yourself in a luminous white ball of light so that you don't feel like they're imposing on your energy space. Remind yourself repeatedly that another person's feelings and behavior is not your responsibility. You are responsible for yourself and yourself only, and that is the only person that you can manage and control anyway, is yourself. So cut the cord between you and that person energetically immediately, and when you catch yourself obsessing and worrying, just relax, release that. You could even do an energy healing on my YouTube channel, do some breathing exercises, write out some affirmations, and remind yourself that it is your responsibility to create healthy boundaries. The old way did not work, and you cannot continue to do that to yourself. You must learn how to say no. You can say it in a kind way. And those that try to manipulate you and don't respect your no are those people that really don't deserve to be in your life. And I understand that if it's at a work situation or a family member that you can't disconnect from, you can hold firm to your boundaries and say no. And honestly, they won't have the appeal to you anymore. They won't want to call you as much anymore. I noticed with that particular family member, she quit calling very much because she wasn't getting her hit from me, that energetic hit anymore. I wasn't going to drop what I'm doing and just fall into counselor mode because I do energy healing for a living. I used to live with a person that did that to me all the time. He had constant career complaints and problems that I never did anything about. And he would just want to eat hours of my time crying and complaining about work and never doing a thing about it. And at the end of the day, that's not helping him. And it's certainly not helping me, especially as an empathic person. So this is something that you can do, and it's really important. And once you master this skill, it will honestly domino into other areas of your life. At least it has for me. And it will give you the confidence that you deserve to have in knowing that though you are empathic and possibly recovering from codependency, you are valuable and you are worthy and you deserve to have healthy boundaries and you deserve to make choices that feel good to you. You don't have to always say yes to people when it doesn't feel good to you, when you don't want to do it. You have to take control of this, and you can and you will. I just feel like this is a turning point. Intuitively, energetically, I just feel like this is a turning point and this is a new skill you will adapt. And I'm speaking it into existence now. So with that, let's go into an energy healing. Please uncross your arms and legs. And for this particular energy healing, I would like to work on shielding you and also work on your will center. And intuitively, I'm also going to do a little bit of work on the heart center because I need you to know that you are worthy. This is where it stems from. You don't have to do things for others to prove your worthiness, to prove your value. You are valuable because you exist. So just focus on your breathing. And if you feel emotional, that is okay. Maybe you haven't ever really received the fact that you are valuable and that you don't have to prove your worth to others. You don't have to overgive in order to be accepted. It is not your responsibility to manage other people's emotions. Finishing up the shields, grounding you. And so it is. is. Okay, so what are we going to do? When someone asks us to do something, instead of the knee-jerk, yes, okay, nope, we're going to take a deep breath. We're going to say, gosh, I'm really sorry you're dealing with that. Sounds like you have a lot going on. I'd love to help. Let me check my schedule and I'll get back to you. Where can I reach you? Or, thanks for thinking of me. I appreciate you inviting me. Let me check my schedule and I'll get back with you. Or give me a few moments to think about this. I had some other things I was processing. Something. Okay? Practice the no muscles and they will get so strong with anything. You practice it, practice. You get the muscle strong and then it just becomes second nature and you deserve it. And I felt the need to reiterate that. Check the show notes. I will leave the link to my Amazon page where I share my favorite wellness products. I'm just asked about it so much. I just put something together. Initially, I was using Kit, but I decided to just use Amazon when they invited me to their program. So I'll leave that link in the show notes if you're interested. It's just, vitamins and things that I've used for years, just through my own training and the circles that I'm in the holistic community, what's worked for me. If you don't like the products, cool. No worries. Find what works for you. It doesn't offend me at all. I'm just trying to share things that I'm asked about the most and things that I love because maybe you'll love it too. Also, if you would please like and share my podcast, I would so appreciate it. Liking it on iTunes is the best way, but if you're an Android user, that's okay. I'm also going to post it on my YouTube channel since a lot of people like that format. So I just appreciate you so much. Honestly, the people that I'm connected with, you're like me. That's why we're connected. We share similarities. And with us being empathic people, there's not a ton of us. So when I meet people that connect with me and we have similar paths and stories, it just brings me joy because if you're an empath like me and you've had a similar upbringing that I have had, we often go through life feeling like no one understands us, no one gets us, and we kind of feel like we're alone. So when you find that other 4% or 5% of the population that's like you, you're like, yes, I found my tribe. So I just wish you the most amazing week that brings you joy and light, and you practice these no muscles and they get stronger and you feel more empowered, more ready to go out and do whatever it is that you need to do in a confident way. I send you so much love. Thank you so very much. Leave me a review. Bye-bye.